Trump claims the kill. Mexico says, not so fast. The most feared cartel boss in a generation, gone in a hillside raid. But within hours, 20 states burn, and the cartel he built isn't going anywhere. The real question isn't who killed him, it's who replaces him.
Years, large swaths of territory in our region, including large parts of Mexico, really large parts of Mexico, have been controlled by murderous drug cartels. That's why I designated these cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, and I declared illicit fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction.
Since the beginning of his second term, US President Donald Trump has been obsessed with taking out the drug cartels in Latin America. The Joint Interagency Task Force Counter-Cartel, which involves multiple US government agencies, was formally launched last month with the goal of mapping out networks of drug cartel members on both sides of the US-Mexico border.
And with our new military campaign, we have stopped record amounts of drugs coming into our country and virtually stopped it completely coming in by water or sea. You probably noticed that. We've also taken down one of the most sinister cartel kingpins of all. You saw that yesterday.
The kingpin Trump was referring to was Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, known as El Mencho, leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel and one of the most wanted men in the world. However, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum had already pushed back sharply on any suggestion of a shared operation.
All operations were carried out by Mexican federal forces. There was no participation by United States forces in the operation. What exists is extensive information sharing.
The distinction matters to Mexico City, which has long guarded its sovereignty as Washington's pressure on Sheinbaum to crack down harder on trafficking has intensified. But with El Mencho gone, the harder question is, what comes next? The cjng, founded around 2009 from the remnants of the Mencho cartel, built its power through extreme violence and strategic territorial expansion, running cocaine, fentanyl, and methamphetamine across Latin America, the US, and parts of Asia. Analysts say removing its leader does not dismantle that machine. Within hours of El Mencho's death, that point was made violently clear. Cartel members torched petrol stations and businesses, erected flaming roadblocks across 20 states, and launched coordinated attacks that killed 25 National Guard members. 70 suspected cartel members were arrested, and 34 others were killed. The cjng has never been a one-man organization. El Mencho deliberately built a command structure around loyalty and compartmentalization, insulating different arms of the cartel from each other. Notably, no replacement for El Mencho has been officially recognized by law enforcement bodies as the cartel reels from today's actions. But the cartel El Mencho leaves behind has no shortage of candidates for the throne. One of them is Gonzalo Mendoza Gaitan, or El Sapo. As per the US Department of the Treasury, he is a senior cjng member and the boss of Puerto Vallarta Plaza, and might be in contention now to be the top boss. El Mencho's son, Ruben Oseguera Gonzalez, known as El Menchito, served as second in command under his father and remains a contender despite being convicted. His daughter, Jessica Johanna Oseguera Gonzalez, known as La Negra, managed the cartel's legitimate business fronts before her own conviction in 2021. Julio Alberto Castillo Rodriguez, or El Choro, is El Mencho's son-in-law and part of the inner circle as well. With both children behind bars, attention turns to Juan Carlos Valencia Gonzalez, El Mencho's stepson and de facto deputy, known as El Pelon. Beyond family, regional commanders and the cartel's financial arm, Los Queenies, which handles money laundering and international investments, add further layers to what is shaping up to be a complex and potentially violent succession. Mexico's most wanted man is dead, but the country is still burning. Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, known as El Mencho, was captured by Mexican special forces in the town of Tapalpa in Jalisco state on February 22nd. He died shortly after from injuries sustained in the firefight. The Trump administration had offered a $15 million reward for his capture, calling him one of the top fentanyl traffickers into the United States. Within hours, his cartel hit back. The Jalisco New Generation Cartel blockaded roads, torched vehicles, and unleashed violence across 19 states. In Puerto Vallarta, armed men rammed a prison gate with a car, freeing 23 inmates. More than 70 people were killed, among them 25 National Guard members. A number of airlines halted flights. At least 2 major cruise liners skipped their stops. Tourists sheltered indoors as black plumes of smoke rose over the Pacific resort.
Look, now we're scared. We only go out when it's necessary because people don't know whether to go out or what to do.
A couple of days later, the charred debris of burnt cars still lines the roadsides into Guadalajara. Schools are closed, businesses are shuttered, troops patrol streets that are emptier than usual.
Everything is closed. I went around and everything was closed. People feel disappointed. This movement will continue. He is a drug trafficker with a lot of power.
Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum has spoken of peace and tranquility returning, but left-wing parliamentary deputy Mariana Casillas says her community has lived with this for 2 decades, since the government launched its war on drugs in 2006.
It seems positive to me that the fight against drug trafficking is being pushed forward. Perhaps these are not the right mechanisms. The pressure has been excessive and even crude, and in that sense, Mexico has done everything that Trump has asked.
Drug war expert Deborah Bonello, managing editor of the Insight Crime think tank, says the pattern is familiar. Killing cartel leaders, she argues, has never brought stability to Mexico. A power struggle in Guadalajara now looks increasingly likely in a city scheduled to host thousands of World Cup fans in June. FIFA boss Gianni Infantino told reporters everything was spectacular. Sheinbaum insists there is no risk to visitors.
It seems to me that doing it close to the World Cup gives visibility if it goes well. Visibility that something was done about it. But if there is instability, it could even put the World Cup itself at risk.
More than 60 funerals are being arranged for cartel foot soldiers and National Guard troops alike. And in the streets of Guadalajara, one parliamentary deputy speaks for many when she says the people have other priorities than football.
The people here don't want the World Cup. They want security, they want clean water, and they want their disappeared relatives back.
As violence grows in Mexico, the next few days become very crucial. The government is trying hard to throttle the violence, but the power vacuum El Mencho's death has created has to be filled with something. One just hopes it is not with a civil war.